Hi guys, welcome to K29 Podcast, the podcast about mindset in life's many forms that we are living right now. And today we have a very special guest. He works in global PR and communications right now, mental fitness, over 20 years of experience that you've been having so far. So definitely it's amazing that you're here and very grateful to have you here, Philip. Please welcome Philip Wilkinson here in the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me and showing a bit my age there, 20 years in the career. Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride so far, and I'm now in the phase of sharing some of the things I've learned.
And you have an extensive timeline. You've been since 2008 until 2025 just working in Olympic Games, in Vancouver, Winter Olympics as a media manager too. Tell me about your timeline. You have a very extensive one as well.
Sure. So I guess it begins with a boyhood dream to become an Olympic athlete. And I was born into a family of sports people. My dad played internationally, captained England at hockey. And my dream was to become an Olympic athlete. It didn't happen. I was very close. Many of my teammates made it into the Olympic squad. I didn't. So I found a plan B. I've always been interested in storytelling and communicating. So I ended up working for the British Olympic team as media manager, beginning at the bottom of the food chain and working my way up. So since 2006, working in PR and communications and supporting the athletes in their moments on the sidelines of some of the biggest events in the world. So the last 6 Olympic Games, 5 summer and 1 winter. And then the last 7 years, I was the head of PR and comms for World Rugby, which is the International Federation for Rugby. So the last 4 Rugby World Cups and traveling extensively around the world. So I didn't quite achieve my boyhood dream, but I found a really good plan B.
And you've also traveled to more than 35 countries, right? From what we had a conversation previously before. That's great and amazing. You know many languages too right now, right?
Yeah, I've been privileged especially through work. I think probably through work, it's been over 35 in total. I'm 80 plus, so I'm heading for 100 countries. And one of the things that most inspires me about the world we live in is the difference in diversity in cultures. I had the amazing life experience. Probably the life experience that shaped me the most was being the international media manager and spokesperson for the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Rio 2016,
Wow.
which was a 4-year contract building up to the first ever Olympic Games in a developing country. And I learned so much from that. It was that experience. It was a new language, a new culture, a new climate from 5 degrees in London to 35 degrees in Rio. And I absolutely loved every minute of it, but it was extremely challenging too. And I think that's when we grow the most, when we have those experiences in our life.
From that experience that you're mentioning as well, what is the challenge that you've lived that has actually stood up to you in that moment?
Oof. In that moment, I was 31 years old, moving to this new country, new culture, new climate. And I think it was the first time I really worked and lived in a new language, Portuguese. And I arrived without a word.
Ooh.
And as a communicator as well, the first year I was driven to tears on many occasions through frustration of not being able to express myself, not catching the little joke, not being able to make myself clear to my team, etc., etc. So I very, dedicated myself over the space of a year to learn Portuguese. It wasn't the easiest language, but now it's a joy every time I meet a Brazilian. I love to connect, and I'm now fluent, and that was a big learning curve. But also, if you want to integrate yourself into a culture in which you're living, I think it's super important to learn the language and become part of the fabric of society.
Definitely. You end up blending with a different culture, and you definitely learned from your own identity through different cultures as well. So it's definitely a benefit. And why not meet other people and get to know other perspectives too is the best thing ever, no?
Yeah, I love it. And it's drawn me to Barcelona now, where we're speaking today. I think Barcelona is extremely multinational, multicultural. Everyone I meet in the co-working where I'm based seems to speak about 4 or 5 languages, comes from a couple of countries, split parents like myself. I'm half English, half German, and has life experience of having worked and lived in many places. And I find that community extremely interesting to be around and inspiring.
So also tell me a little bit about why you've decided to choose mental fitness. This is actually the first time that caught my attention. And especially in this podcast that we speak about mentality, mindfulness too. So how come you focused on mental fitness specifically?
Sure. Great question. So mental health is a state that we're in. We either have good mental health or bad mental health, but it's a state. We all have mental health. But mental fitness is the proactive side. It's like going to the gym for your mind. It's something that is adaptable. It's something you can work on. It's something proactive. It's something action focused. So I'm really attracted to mental fitness from the understanding that it's something that we can work on, we can improve. From my personal experience, the question was, why did I come to be interested in it? Well, from my personal experience back in 2016, when I just finished the biggest, most exciting project of my life, the Olympic Games in Rio, my dad unfortunately contracted motor neurone disease, or ALS as it's known in America, which is a terminal illness. So I had a year left with him where I returned to my parents' home. I took care of him until he passed. And then for the first time in my life, I had the process of grief. However, being a good British male, I did not process any negative emotion. I did not know how to. I did not have the skills. I did not have the capabilities. So after the funeral and taking care of admin and making sure my mum was okay, I packed my backpack and I went volunteering and traveling around Africa, Asia, South America for 6 months. So my solution to grief was busyness. Do you think that worked?
That's interesting too, because I think for some people it does work, and for some people it's maybe trying to escape, but it's definitely a way of opening yourself too, especially if you travel a lot. You
So
get to
for
know.
me, I think it worked in the short term, and
Okay.
I think escapism is a great way to define it. And eventually, once I took my next job with World Rugby in Dublin, in a complete change of environment from Rio, so it was a long, cold, hard winter. I didn't have close friends there. I had a new role with profile and pressure, and grief caught up with me. And I found myself through the winter of 2018 feeling anxiety for the first time in my life, that quickly translating into depression, and this feeling of what's going on with me, what's wrong with me. I'm physically healthy, I have a good job, I have money in the bank, I have a good life, but I was feeling terrible. I was feeling in a dark place, in a black hole, and I lost, at the worst of it, I lost sort of sense of my future. I couldn't really see that. I didn't have hope for the future. So that was a personal experience, which I had to communicate my way out of by opening up to, at first, just 2 or 3 people. And I had to educate myself from. So I've been on this journey of 8, 9 years now of really learning and understanding what keeps us mentally well, mentally fit. And I'm here to help share those messages and share those learnings so that others perhaps don't experience what I have, or can help to move out of difficult periods.
And I think especially now, if you work like what we mentioned before when we had a coffee, you mentioned that if you work your body, you're working naturally your brain as well. It's part of the stimulating journey that we have on ourselves too. And that's super interesting because how did you implement mental fitness in the Olympics, for example?
Yeah, so the connection with sport is a really clear one. So the best athletes, the champion athletes, what sets apart a real top Olympic gold medal winning champion from a great athlete with great physique is the mindset, is the mentality. If you look at a sport like tennis, for example, it is so mentally quick to change from highs to lows. Everything is about momentum. And the athlete with the greatest control of their mindset and the confidence that they've built, the innate confidence, this is really the differentiator between the champion athletes and the great athletes. Because once you reach that elite stage, if you look at the lineup of an Olympic final, every athlete has incredible physique. Every athlete has trained in the gym and put in the reps and the hours. But actually, the mindset can be the differentiator in that moment under pressure. Clive Woodward, who was the England coach when England last won the Rugby World Cup. I worked under him at the British Olympic team for a few years, and he had this saying of teacup, thinking correctly under pressure. And it's those few moments in the match where you really have to make that clear, focused, correct decision that decides whether you win matches or not. Okay. And so a lot of the training was done to make sure that when that moment came, athletes, players were able to think clearly under pressure.
That's so interesting. I definitely did not expect this as well, because, for example, if you were to say a big challenge that you experienced throughout your career, especially if you have to help out a sports person right now, what was the biggest challenge that you've seen so far?
So one of my roles in the Olympic Games is to take the athletes through their media commitments. Which would often be pre-event, where they'd have a press conference or a team announcement, etc., and through to their actual performance moments. For some athletes, this is 10 seconds or one round of taekwondo or one match of tennis. And after the match or after the performance, I would take them through what's called the media mix zone in the Olympic Games, where the broadcasters are lined up one after another, and then the written journalists, and your job is to really help the athlete through that process, but also maybe just to take a breath with them, to maybe remind them of some key messages about their performance or about their preparation or about what's coming next. And so one of the challenges, having been with those athletes at perhaps the greatest moment of their life, or perhaps the most heartbreaking, gut-wrenching defeat of their life, but having to maintain that professionalism and having to communicate their story, because at the end of the day, like, sport is really a game of emotion, and that's what keeps fans interested, and that's why the interviews happen in that heightened state of emotion in moments after the performance. So helping them to deal with that scenario was a key part of my role, and probably one of the challenging ones, and often very enjoyable ones when a moment of medal winning success has just happened, as with Andy Murray, who had his big breakthrough with the gold medal in London 2012 Olympics on home soil, and I took care of all his media commitments through the tournament. I really saw the public fall in love with him, which wasn't the case before.
Okay, wow, that's really extensive, definitely. And are there any specific habits that you would recommend for athletes to take in notice in order for this to be all like complimented and well done, especially when they have to do these interviews and facilitate the mindset as well?
Yeah, and not just for athletes, for everyone. For example, prior to this podcast, breathwork is one I'm a powerful believer in and have used extensively myself. I'm now a certified breathwork facilitator. So where do we feel our nervous anxiety before an exam or before an interview? We feel it in our stomachs, and that's where we have the second most nerve endings after our brains in our bodies, and we call it the butterflies. So I find like just 30 seconds of slow, consistent breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. There's very simple patterns like box breathing, which is in for 4 through the nose, hold for 4, release for 4 through the mouth, hold for 4.
It's called box breathing.
Box breathing, yeah. 4, 4, 4, 4. This can really help to bring you back down to a calm state, which can then give you the clarity and the focus to perhaps deliver the messages that you want to deliver. Perhaps your performance hasn't gone the way you wanted to, but you still want to thank all the people that have supported you on the 4-year journey or the lifetime journey to this moment. Perhaps you want to explain that you did the best you could, you put all the preparation in, and in the moment it just wasn't quite enough. But having that moment of clarity beforehand, and that's kind of the preparation side. Another thing that's big in sport is visualization. Visualization. So our minds, I'm not a neuroscientist, but there is neuroplasticity, which means that we can create connections within our minds through repeated behavior or through action, but also through imagination. So athletes will often visualize perhaps the whole day of a performance. They'll visualize how they wake up. They'll visualize their morning meditation. They'll visualize getting into their training gear, having their kit packed and ready. They'll visualize arriving at the venue. They'll visualize their pre-game routine. Then they'll visualize standing on the block, diving into the pool, visualize their first 3 strokes, visualize being ahead, staying calm, reaching the finish line first, standing on the podium. And this visualization builds up with repetition, the neuro connections that then when it actually comes to your time to perform, if you've done this 100 times previously, your body is ready and knows what to do, and it's going through a process. So often you'll hear athletes talk about trust the process. There's a lot of work that goes into that process before performance day.
Yeah. And when you mean by visualization, do you think about it like in a long-term visualization or short-term, as in 3 days, for example? Or there isn't in a specific day range, like it's just the visualization in general? What do you mean exactly, like long-term or short-term?
So in the case of athletic performance, sport performance, it's more visualization of a specific, perhaps say you're the kicker in a rugby or the penalty taker in football, as we're in the World Cup right now. It's visualizing that walk up to the penalty spot. It's visualizing that moment of calm, precise, knowing exactly what you want to do, where you want to put the ball in the goal. And so for sport practice, it's often focused on the visualization of certain moments or a whole routine that you'll be going through. For example, divers, gymnasts, they do this a lot where they'll shut their eyes and they'll go through the whole routine. And you actually see them with the eyes closed, moving their body parts kind of through that, but it's just in their head. They're not actually physically doing the routine. Longer term, I think that's moving potentially slightly into manifestation space, from visualization to manifestation, which is a really interesting topic to discuss and a little bit beyond where I'm focusing my attention at the moment. But can you manifest something for 5 years' time that you want to achieve by believing in it, by visualizing it, by doing a vision board and waking up to see it every morning?
Yeah.
Yes, I totally believe in the power of that, but I'm a very action orientated person. So for me, manifestation, believing, has to be also balanced out with also taking daily actions and consistency. And that's another big part of sport preparation. It's those daily 1%ers, those atomic habits.
Yes, exactly. Atomic Habits, a great book, by the way.
I've actually just read it as part of the book club here in Barcelona. Yeah. And there's a few things that I've put into daily practice, like habit stacking, putting one thing on top of another, or giving yourself a reward when you complete a habit, which potentially is difficult. So that's my big aim for this summer, actually, is getting into little consistent habits.
That's super great. I read this book as well. And it definitely does help a lot when you want to implement a routine and take small steps. And I've never done this, for example. So after going with small steps, it's just a routine that is part of you and your world right now. So it's like, it's automatic now. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. And it's such a good feeling, to be honest. Definitely.
And for example, meditation started for me that way. I've always lived a very fast-paced, very adventure-loving lifestyle. And for 20 years, I said, I don't have time for meditation. I'm too busy for meditation. And then I started with 1 minute. With 1 minute. I was like, let's just try sitting still, breathing for 1 minute. And then I got introduced to an app, Headspace. There's Calm, Headspace, various ones out there. And I actually saw on my app this morning, I've meditated more than 15,000 minutes now. But that's made up in 5-minute or 10-minute chunks. So it's about the repetition, about building. And what I've found once is actually, by giving myself 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of the day to meditate, it sets me in motion to a sense of calm and clarity and purpose that lasts for the next 10 hours. So it's actually a great investment of 10 minutes rather than a wasted 10 minutes of time that I could have done something else with. So that's start small is the message, right?
Yeah. Because, for example, right now I've also known many people as well. I went to the Breathworks. We met in the Breathwork of our friend Dan. And also I've been to other more and on the beach. And there's so many people that I've told them, how did you feel? And they all tell me like, I think I didn't feel anything. Like, I think I need more time. I don't know how to calm my mind. What do you recommend for those people that are just starting, for example, but they still don't know what the actual feeling is supposed to be for that 1 minute, for example?
Starting small is the first thing. And for me, breathwork, for example, I stumbled across it. I was at a festival, a well-being festival, because I was interested in the whole area, but I'd never really heard or come across breathwork. And this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I stumbled across it. It was in a tent. It was a guy's session. And I just lay down on a mat and said, I'll give this a go. And wow, it was the biggest emotional release I'd had in my life. It took me by surprise just through breathing. Powerful, conscious, connected breathing. But I felt sensations all through my arms, and I reconnected with my father in a vision, and many things happened. And people who know me, I'm very down to earth. I'm very realistic. I'm very skeptical about new things. So I discovered the power of this. I did 2 or 3 more sessions in the year that came after that. And then I decided, okay, there's something in this, and this is something I'm going to train and learn and pass on. But for those that are getting new into it, I think it's like you don't get a 6-pack overnight by going to the gym once and doing a really intense session. No, it's by a little consistent, gradual build up. So finding calmness and finding stillness and getting into that habit of breathing or meditating or whatever it may be, sea swims in the morning. This is something that builds up over time. And of course, you'll have days when the mind is super agitated and refuses to play ball. But that's like the days in the gym where you feel a bit exhausted, not really up for it. Perhaps you've been partying at a music festival at the weekend and you don't feel it, but you kind of force yourself to go. And those are the ones that really count. And maybe you're only operating at 70% in the gym. Well, the same with the mind. There will be those occasions where your mind is super active. You have something on stressing you at the time, but it's still valuable to invest that time in consistently showing up for yourself.
It restores your brain as well. I remember I never did that, and I've always focused on the gym, for example. And then I realized I just have too much energy, and I need to release it in a way, or I need to calm my system and stabilize myself too. So now I'm actually implementing it more, at least like 2 minutes per day, to just be quiet, breathe, learn how to breathe, and then I feel much more restored. And it feels amazing. And it's what you're saying, it's just 2 minutes of your time, nothing else. Then you have the rest of the day.
And potentially it creates space in your mind for the rest of the day to be more productive, to be more creative.
Yeah. So also, like, you're also focused on men's health from what we spoke before. Tell me a little bit about it as well. That's very interesting for me, especially in this podcast.
Yeah, it's a super important topic for me, and one that doesn't get spoken enough about because it's difficult. But male suicide is the biggest killer of men under 50. Bigger than any illness, bigger than car accidents, bigger than anything else. And just to think of that fact is tragic, but it's real. And 3 out of 4 suicides are male. So there is something in the male mindset that drives more men to take their own lives than women. So I'm absolutely here to be an advocate and someone that speaks up for all mental fitness, for both genders, for all backgrounds. But I do think a light needs to be shone on why is it that men do struggle so much with this. And I think some of that comes down to men's inability to communicate to the level that perhaps women do. And so there's a lot we can learn from women in that way. And also that from a very young age, we hear messages like, boys don't cry, man up, be tough. And that can mean that in those moments when later in life you do need to be vulnerable, you do need to ask for help, you do need to show weakness which is a strength. Showing your weakness, showing your vulnerability is a strength. Some men are capable of doing that with tragic consequences. So it's a topic that I'm super passionate about. I led the Movember activity here in Barcelona. We had more than 100 girls and guys supporting the cause. We had a huge event on the last day of Movember. For those that don't know, Movember is a global charity where men grow moustaches through the month of November, hence why it's called Movember, to raise awareness and also funds for mental health awareness and men's health in general, also prostate cancer, testicular cancer. So I've been involved with this charity and it's also very connected with sports. I was working with the Global Rugby Players Foundation last year, which is set up to help athletes with their transition beyond the game when they finish being rugby players. And it's a super difficult time in an athlete's life when you have to retire because you lose your identity, you lose your structure, you lose your income, and you lose your community all in one go. So that was a piece of work I was doing last year, and that tied in really well with the Movember activity and men's mental health. Also personally, in that period in 2018, the winter, I was never action orientated in suicide, but I certainly had days where I felt so bleak, so dark, and I couldn't find hope. I couldn't find light. And those who know me, I'm an extremely positive, happy, bright person. But I experienced that actually anxiety and depression, when it builds up over days and weeks, can really take a toll and have an effect on your mental health to an extent that, you look for ways out. And I understand why some people do take their lives. So I want to use that understanding, and I want to use that platform that I have and the experiences that I have to help others and have a positive impact.
Like, for example, if you were to speak to someone, for example, in any generation, millennials, baby boomers, and Gen Z, and they're struggling right now with anxiety, with so much pressure, maybe because of work, maybe because they don't feel like they're living in a new city in Barcelona and they don't feel any identity right now. That is happening a lot, what I'm seeing as well. What would you definitely recommend to someone that you just met and they're struggling with this right now?
It's different for every person. But the first thing I would encourage to listen to is the fact that nothing is permanent in terms of emotions. Emotions, they pass. They pass with time. They're like clouds in the sky. Sometimes they come over, and sometimes it's a rainstorm, and sometimes it's dark. But weather changes and emotions change, and nothing is permanent. The second thing is get support. And depending on the level of difficulty that you may be in, support for me looked like having the courage to speak to my brother, who I've not always had the most close and open relationship with, but in that moment I had the courage to reach out, and one or two close old friends. But it took a lot of strength to do that. So either reach out to someone you know, or there are support services 24/7 if you really find yourself in crisis, that are there to help and there to listen. However, if you're not in crisis point, but you are feeling regular anxiety, perhaps there are things that you can look into putting into your lifestyle, into your daily habits that could help. So some of those things are meditation, mindfulness, breathing, social connection. For me, something that's helped massively is keeping a gratitude journal. 3 small things. We can all find 3 small things, like the ability to taste, the ability to hear or feel the sun on our skin, or look someone in the eyes in the street. There are simple things that we can all feel grateful for every day. And just by noting those down first thing in the morning or last thing at night has really helped. And then social connection is a huge one. So if you can get involved in some kind of physical activity club, a book club, whatever your interest might be, but don't isolate, I think, when you're feeling down low. And that's difficult sometimes. But if you can find a way to find social connection, that can be super helpful.
Would you recommend, now that you're speaking of social connection as well, for example, if it has to do with sports, is it better to be a sports person and keep your mind and focus on your own to regulate? Or should it be better if you actually went, for example, to a run club, a paddle club, or any sports club where you can actually interact with people?
Yeah, I was actually listening to your previous episode on sort of modern dating and things. Actually, someone said to me yesterday, run clubs are the new Tinder in Barcelona. So
Pretty
if you want to
much.
find a partner, get in a run club. But the same is true for friendships. So I am a big supporter of team sports because I grew up in when I was a hockey player. And I think the life lessons, positive life lessons that I've learned, so much of it comes from team sport, teamwork, communicating, encouraging, the discipline, the shared objective, working together towards a goal. However, individual sport can also teach you many of those important life lessons, such as training, discipline, setting yourself a task and showing up on a regular basis. However, I would super encourage, if you're feeling some anxiety, if you're feeling some social isolation, get involved in a run club, get involved in chess, get involved in whatever it is. There's so many meetups, especially in a place like Barcelona. Whatever your interest is, I'm sure you can find it. And the power of social connection has been proven to be huge in terms of helping with things like poor mental health.
It's what you're saying. Like, now there's so many run clubs as well. There's so many run clubs. So there's like no excuse to actually just say like, oh, I haven't found any actual run club. No, there are many here in Barcelona. And even more every year, I've noticed as well. It's crazy.
I actually have an excuse. I had a hip replacement when I was 29 from playing hockey. I'd worn away the cartilage in my hip, so I can't run now. I can't do 5K plus.
Okay.
So I found other groups here, and yeah, like I say, it's find your thing, and perhaps physical exertion isn't your thing, but I mean, dancing for me is a great form of communication. By its very nature, you are in contact with other people, and it's a great way to feel good, endorphins flowing. So whatever your poison is, salsa, bachata, why not take up something new, challenge yourself?
It's also like challenging yourself is a bit like also trying to see yourself too, I suppose. It's like if you can actually implement something new, you learn something new and from someone else that you've met there as well. So I think, the more experiences that you're going to open up for yourself, it's going to be a benefit for you. Or maybe not, but it's an experience too as well. But
Yeah. One of my goals for this year, Muncie, is to fail as much as possible.
Is to what?
Fail as much as possible.
Okay. How come? Tell me about that.
Because failure is where the growth is. That's where you learn, grow the most. So I've spent the last 20 years, as you kindly stated, working in some of the biggest sports events in the world with some high profile roles, and very grateful for those experiences. But last year I stepped out of the organization and the corporate world into setting up my own agency and getting into breathwork coaching and setting up podcasts and a men's circle. These are all new things. And it's so refreshing to be in beginner's mindset after 20 years of kind of working with things that I knew and had trained and studied and actually trying new things. You're going to fail. Of course you are.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn and you're going to improve. And a lot of our lives, I think we play safe because we have a fear of failure. And I'm actually being mentored by Dr. Pippa Grange, who is quite famous in the UK for helping the England football team overcome their fear of playing at home, particularly in front of their own fans, to become a really powerful football nation again and really successful, but also really enjoying the experience of playing together. And she wrote a book called Fear Less. And for me, overcoming that fear of how you're seen, of, 10 years ago, would I've been confident to show up as a breathwork guy, a coach guy, someone that talks about male suicide and mental fitness? No. But growing into new versions of yourself or stepping into uncharted territory is where you really grow and learn the most. And failure is I think, was it Roger Federer that was giving a speech at a university on graduation day, and he said, was it 46% of his points in his career he lost? So he failed. 46% of his career was failure, and he was the greatest tennis player of all time until potentially Novak surpasses.
Yeah, basically that happened. Yeah. It's just true. It's everything a lesson. And I think we can also implement this with job related too as well. I mean, now I think we spoke about this too, that years ago you can have just one job for a lifetime, and now many young people as well are having many jobs in a lifetime. So that can be a little bit contradicting in the brain too, because they feel like, I just failed and I have to go to another job again. Or maybe it's a good spot as well.
One of the tools and techniques I've learned is also reframing. So you can reframe a failure as a learning opportunity, as a growth opportunity. Is your last relationship because it ended? Was it a waste of time? Was it a failure? Or was it something you learned from and something that redirects you for future relationships? I'd say 99 times out of 100, it's the latter. And we have to be open to those new experiences, to taking ourselves out of our comfort zones in order to have that personal growth. And I do think with regard to career, that the game has changed from my parents' generation, say, where you would study, perhaps become a chartered accountant or surveyor or whatever is your career. My mum was a teacher, and that was you for life, and perhaps stay with one company for life. Now, perhaps the challenge nowadays is the paradox of choice. You have so much option, so much opportunity.
Yeah.
But you can perhaps have 5 careers in one lifetime or more. You can perhaps test lots of different careers. I actually was the first person in my organization to take a sabbatical back in 2023 because exactly that. I wanted to dip my toe into psychology and coaching and mental fitness. So I took 6 months out, unpaid. I did a positive psychology diploma from Yale Uni in the States, and spent my time living here in Barcelona also as a life experiment, if this is a place I'd like to live. And then I went back to working in my role for another 3 years until I was actually ready to take that leap of faith out. So I would encourage as much, especially in your early 20s, potentially, gaining experience in different fields in different ways, that adds to your journey, rather than trying to find the solution right from the beginning. The destination is not what I'm aiming for. It's the journey. So this step into coaching and breathwork and mental fitness and talking about men's suicide, I don't know what my final destination with this is, but I know the direction of travel I'm moving in, and that feels aligned with my values. That feels aligned with the person I want to show up as. So I'm just taking steps one after another in that direction.
Oh my God, yeah. There's so many people. I mean, I'm 30 right now. I'm still in a process as well as seeing things. But even younger people, they just want everything now. It has to be now, and work. And it's like, you're going to fail. You're in a process right now. But how do you say that to someone that's so young so that you can help them out and make them understand? But at the same time, they will see it from the actions that they're going to take, even though someone is already telling them, or even a parent. But it's tricky with young people as well. Even, I mean, you've seen it as well. We've been 20 years old too, and we've been like, oh my God, what is happening? But then you're like, okay, now I get it. Now I get what's happening. I'm going through this process. And especially people say that when you're 30, you're like, oh, okay, I'm now ready. And now I know what I want from all that I've been through when I was 20. So I suppose it happened to you as well.
I'm really growing into myself now in my 40s. My 20s and 30s were full of thrill seeking, chasing adventure, both career wise and personal wise, wanting to see the world, all of it, wanting to do the most exciting jobs, all of it, wanting to meet the coolest, most beautiful people, all of them. And ultimately that drew me towards burnout, towards exhaustion. Like the last 7 years, I had a very glamorous role in terms of iconic destinations for our events, business class travel, fancy hotels, but it was also exhausting, lonely, living in constant jet lag. And it had a huge price to pay on personal relationships because I was just never present in one place for long enough to cultivate and nurture them. So I think we go through different phases of life. I would say that the biggest difference in the generation now from when I was 20 is the amount of comparison that's available out there.
Yeah.
So social media means that we can see all these high achievers or wide achievers. My ambition is to be more of a wide achiever than a high achiever. And the difference of a wide achiever is someone that experiences a variety of things and has a breadth of interests and a breadth of knowledge. Whilst a high achiever may just reach great success in one, become the CEO of the company or make $1 million doing one thing. I really believe that variety is the spice of life, and I've dedicated my time to experience lots of different things. But yeah, that is the biggest difference, and let's acknowledge it. You know, social media, our phones, smartphones have changed everything, have changed the way we live. And so you have to be more than ever really careful and proactive about the way you use them. And if you're constantly comparing and despairing with the next influencer that is showing just a snapshot of their highlight of their life, of how successful they claim to be, what impact is that going to have on you, your career trajectory, your personal health? So I would say focus on intrinsic beliefs, intrinsic values, and ultimately that will bring you the intrinsic positive feelings. If you're searching for external validation, extrinsic factors, wealth, fame, I don't think that is the best path forward.
Definitely. And if you were to choose 3 values in your life, what would those values be, for example?
That I have lived by?
Yeah.
Personally?
Yeah, like right now that you are at this moment and you realize what are those 3 values.
Yeah. So right now, connection is the top of the tree. I think community building is something that I've seen the power of, and in my lowest point, my community was there for me, and that's vital. So community, connection, that's something that you need to invest time, energy, and effort in. The second is curiosity. If you stay curious throughout your life, it doesn't matter what your age is, you will always be young. My mum is 82. She is curious. She's open. In the last few years, she's taken up singing in a choir, playing bowls. She volunteers at a wildlife reserve. You know, all these things since my dad passed away, she has taken on out of curiosity. And the third one is the big one, love. You know, do what you love, act from a place of love. And love for me is like being kind, being empathetic, giving and receiving love. And it's a word that for 20 years of my life has been not something that you can talk openly, warmly about. I never heard it growing up. My parents were excellent parents, but they didn't have the capacity. They'd never learnt how to say I love you or to express it, communicate it. I knew it and I felt it, but I never heard it. And so as a communicator, I've made it my business to really hold that value of being loving, giving and receiving love to be at the center of my universe.
I couldn't agree much more with that. I mean, I believe in it as well too. Like if you meet people along the way and you come from genuine kindness as well, that's the whole fulfillment of how you want to stabilize your life as well. Even if it's with friendships, colleagues that you're gonna meet, sports teammates, relationships, that is super important because right now we're all like in a bubble stopping because we want to feel independent. I mean, it's all right to feel independent, but if you know how to accept love, the proper one, and also give love without feeling scared and knowing that that's your standard, that's the best point you can have. Wouldn't you agree with that? Or
I would agree with that. I'm really interested in this work on the 5 languages of love. Are you familiar with that?
no, tell me about it.
So I think, let me see if I can recall all of them, but like touch, so affection, physical touch, words of affirmation, so like communicating. And then there is acts of service, so taking action, physical action. There is quality time, and there is gifts. And that's not necessarily wealthy material gifts. It could be the gift of, something made or something different from a gold diamond ring. So everybody has a primary love language, and often they can be different. And in relationship, I find it really interesting. So my primary ones are touch. Despite being a British male, I am affectionate and what you call touchy-feely. And so my years in Brazil, I actually learned how to express this more, how to accept this, how to give this, and also words. I'm a communicator. However, what I love to receive the most is acts of service and quality time. So if someone does something for me, however small, if someone's coming around to see me and they turn up with a coffee and a croissant without having asked me if I want one, just as an act of service, or if someone is willing to take care of my belongings for a day or something like that, this is actually where I feel and see love. So it's very different how all of us have different understandings.
I definitely will keep myself busy with you in my time because I don't want to waste your time either. I love enjoying time with this person, for example. And definitely acts of service. I like it too. Sometimes people see it as something more like, oh, you have to do this. And it's like a chore that you're doing. And not really. It's like if you just think of that person and it's what you're saying, like they brought a coffee or a biscuit or anything, that's so kind, and you didn't even ask for it. That's even better. That made my day. So when I see that, I definitely want to do the same for someone else, even if it's spontaneous and or planned, but you've done it, and it definitely has a good feeling in the body afterwards.
I've realized you've touched upon something there that was a realization for me recently, that the 2 most important currencies in my life are time and energy. So I had 2 friends visiting from Brazil, friends from Rio, last week or the weekend before, and they were going to Primavera, and they were desperate for me to come with them. Like, come on, Phil, it's a great, famous global festival. I've been before, and I know I spend a lot of energy there and time. And actually, on the Sunday that day, I really wanted to reserve my energy for the week ahead. I wanted to spend my time doing relaxed things. And so I said, go have a great time. The currencies that are most important to me right now are time and energy, and I don't want to spend them there. So yeah, after 20-year career, I guess financial stability is there, and I'm aware that actually that is in Maslow's hierarchy, that is a hygiene factor. You have to have financial stability to enable other things to then become priorities. But yeah, how I spend my time is the first thing I think about now. Is that time well spent?
And to choose people also that will like benefit in your time as well. Like, not in a bad way. I'm not like being selective. This person, yes, this person, no. But when you have a good friend as well, you're like, I'm definitely going to invest in my time with this person because I feel the friendship and the love with this. So I will invest on this much more than anything. Yeah.
for me with people, especially about energy. There are basically two types of people in the world, energy givers and energy takers.
Yeah.
And maybe someone for you could be a total energy giver that for me is an energy taker, and vice versa. So I think it can be different for different people. But I certainly noticed some relationships that I've had in my life that have been maybe great friends or family members that were great in a certain period of my life, maybe when I was super outgoing and a party guy or gregarious. I had maybe close friends who were also in that vibe who I thought were energy givers. Now, if I'm in a different vibe, I've moved from being a night person to a morning person and finding more calm and inner peace and things. Perhaps those people are now energy takers rather than energy givers. And you can notice after an interaction with someone, perhaps a stranger even, you can notice, did your energy rise or did your energy fall? And take note of that. And we change through our lives. And that's natural. And so the relationships that we keep should also change through our lives. And sometimes, difficult as it may be, that might mean letting go of a relationship that is no longer giving you energy.
I remember back in my 20s, it was so hard for me to identify that because I'm naturally, for example, a person that loves to have a good energy and environment around people. So I didn't notice that. And you're just giving and giving and giving. And then you're like, okay, maybe this is not good for me. So now that I'm 30, I'm actually being more selective with who I want to spend my energy. And it feels much more better. I'd rather have like 4 people, like close friends, and those are the great energies than having so many people and there are so many energies going on. So I'm just like, oh, I'm a bit unstabilized. But yeah, definitely it's a good feeling to identify it faster. Yeah. And I think, well, with the energies too, it has to do with breath work, with mental fitness as well. And here in Barcelona, especially with the podcast, there are so many people in their 30s who's wrote comments as well, actually saying, for example, I'm really happy that you've done this. I'm living in Barcelona and I'm still identifying what I'm going through as well. So if you've recently moved here as well, what is what you would recommend for those people who are just starting right now, for example?
Moving to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So I think Barcelona is a super hectic and vibrant city. So I think it would be easy to get caught up in doing everything. So I think being selective about how you spend your energy and how you spend your time, but also being open and curious to try new things, to try new groups. Perhaps, I'm not very creative with a paintbrush, but I've really enjoyed going to a kind of, it was art and sipping wine event. Maybe you're not super sporty, but you could go try Thai kickboxing for energy release, But I would say take your time. Don't expect to find your tribe immediately and don't try to do everything all at once. From my personal story, I lived in Rio de Janeiro for 5 years. The reason I'm here in Barcelona is because Barcelona is the closest version to Rio I found in Europe. So it's like a European Rio. It's got the sunshine vibes, the sea, the mountains, and the Latin spirit.
Yeah.
But Rio was like Barcelona plus, Barcelona times 10.
Definitely.
So for me, actually, Barcelona is slightly more relaxed than my lifestyle in Rio. So yeah, I would say openness and curiosity, but also take your time, find your tribe. I love co-working spaces and cafes. Now I've set up my own agency. I can work remotely. However, I don't like to be alone just in my apartment and just working quietly. So I like to have humanity around me. I like to have the potential for distraction.
Yeah.
So Barcelona has a great scene for that. And it's super multinational, multicultural. So you'll find your vibe, especially in summer.
Definitely.
I think the danger is doing too much. And for a lot of my life, I packed too much in. I was too thrill-seeking. I was too fast, and I left no time for my own energy reserves, for my own reflection and quality time. So me time, building that into your schedule is perhaps the first thing that should go in your schedule.
And also for the public that are watching us right now, where can we find you to schedule breathwork sessions as well?
Sure. So thank you. I use two platforms really, first being Instagram. So Phil Wilkinson 811 is my Instagram, and then LinkedIn, which is Philip Wilkinson. And also started a podcast, which will be launching the first episode within the next week, called 3 Men in a Pod, which is together with two male co-hosts. We're really speaking from the male perspective on modern life, dating, love, relationships, mental health. And so that is on Instagram at 3 Men in a Pod.
I love the name so much. It's so interesting. And I'm definitely going to watch that. You've been on so many podcasts as well.
Yeah, it's one of my objectives is really to pass on what I've learned, both from my career, but also from my life experiences, and also from the tough period I went through with anxiety and depression, to really help other people. But especially from the sports career, I had the privilege to be on the sidelines of some of the biggest events and some of the best known athletes in the world. So I really want to share that more widely now.
And this will help everyone in Barcelona for sure.
I hope so. Barcelona and beyond.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for being here as well. It's such a pleasure to have you here and speak to everyone who's watching as well. And all of the links are going to be down on the link below and popping up in the videos. So thank you so much. I'm so happy that you came here and we spoke about everything in your life.
It's my pleasure, Monty, and congratulations on the good work you're doing and the topics you're raising. And I wish you the best, and we'll for sure keep in touch.
Yeah, for sure.